Mauri ora ki te whai au ki te ao marama. Tihe uriri, tihe nakonako kātou hā whakatau ko Oranganui e tui honei, kātou hā whakatau ko Papatūnuku e tākoto ake nei. Kātou hā whakatau ko te mātuku mai rarotonga, kui aruku ia manawa pauroto, kui aruku ia manawa pauwaho. Kia tina, whakatina. Te more I hawai ki e pupu ana hoki e wāwau ana hoki. Tārewa tū ki te rangi, eke pānuku, eke tangaroa, tau mai te Maori, haumi e, hui e, tā iki e. E ngā mane ngā reo e ngā kārangaranga maho te motu. Ki ngā iwi o tā wāhi, nau mai, hara mai, whakatau mai, ki te whare wānanga o tākau ki pōneke. Ki tēnei whiti kōrero, ki tēnei kōrero, ki te hohonutanga o tēnei wā. E mihi atu ki a rātou kua whiturangi tia haere, haere, tātou na kanohi ora, na kaimahi mō tēnei rā, mō tēnei wānanga, mō tēnei kōrero. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Ka taia mai tētahi uri o Ngāti Tama, o Ngāti Toa rangatira, o Ngāti Koata rānei. Ki a koe e Eve, e te whanaunga, e te uri o te pōhora, nei rata mihi atu. Ki tō pūkinga, ki tō mahi nei, e arahi ai tiaki ki ngā mahi o te mate pukupuku. Kia koutou katoa, kei roto te haerenga o te mate pukupuku, kia kaha, kia maia, kia mau ki tēnā o ngā whānau, whānau Māori, whānau Pākehā rānei. Kia tika ai te huarahi, mo te hauora, kia hoki mai te mana, kia rātou, ki tēnā, ki ngā whānau o tira, kei roto I te hāpori, kei roto I ngā tari, puta noa ki ngā mahi taumaha mō ngā mahi mate pukupuku, kai a koutou te muro o te ahi. Nō reira, kia kaha, kia maia. Huri noa, e mihi tēnei ki o koutou e ngā kaimahi o te whare wānanga o tākau ki pōneke, taino atu, ki ngā whānau no tā wāhi, ki te whanaunga pēti wāka, tēnā onu hoki koe, koutou hoki, kei runga I te ipurangi, nau mai, whakatau mai. Huri noa, ka tuku te rākau ki te kai kōrero mō tēnei wā, ki a koe, ki ora, te rā pia, ngā tamariki e pirangi ki te tū ki te kōrero. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to hand it over to our convener for today. And before we do that, I'd just like to acknowledge the university and its work that it's been doing with our iwi, and that the mahi goes on, and the mahi goes on with also our iwi and cancer. So today, it's important for us to hear, not just from a legal perspective, but also from a te ao Māori perspective, or things that can reach to the needs of Māori, they can reach to the needs of everyone else in our society. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, kia ora mai tātou. Teresa.
Tēnā tātou. Ko waio e tu mai nei, ko taino e te waka, ko whitire e te maunga, ko Raukawa te moana, ko takupahi e te marae, ko Ngāti Toa, Ngāti Koata, ngā iwi, ko Eve Rongo ahau. Nā reira, kia ora. Kia ora everyone, my name is Eve Rongo. I'm from Oranganui Legal. I am director and principal there, and I represent the Y2647 claim by Teresa Goza, who will be after me. That is a claim that was brought to the Waitangi Tribunal and has been incorporated into the Y2575 Health Services and Outcomes Kaupapa Inquiry. I've been asked to talk to you a little bit about background to the tribunal and about this inquiry that's continuing. We've just completed stage 1 and the report has been released from the tribunal, which was highly critical of our public health system, primary healthcare system. So I'll have a little talk about that later. So you'll know that the Waitangi Tribunal was set up by the Treaty of Waitangi Act in 1975. It was the product of many hikoi, many actions by our people to have the breaches to Te Tiriti recognised, acknowledged, redressed. And It was set up in 1975. Now, the Waitangi Tribunal is an ongoing commission of inquiry that is specifically set up to listen to these grievances from Māori against the Crown. And it looks at both historic and contemporary issues. So it organised itself into district inquiries originally because there were many claims that were filed that were quite similar, so they organised them in terms of district. Our last one will be opening up soon. It's the North East Bay of Plenty inquiry. So now that the district inquiries have all been heard, we're now turning to kaupapa inquiries. Those are issues that affect Māori nationwide and that are significant. So the military veterans kaupapa inquiry has started. The health services, we've also got housing that is starting. We've got mana wahine. And today I'm talking about the health services. So in order to organise that inquiry, which is huge, there are over 200 claims that have been filed, both historic and contemporary, ranging from cancer to the lack of response to recommendations about smoking, cessation programs, to mental health, to historic breaches, the Spanish flu that swept through New Zealand 100 years ago. The tribunal, to get through all of these claims, has divided it up into 3 stages. The first stage was set aside for the priority themes that demonstrate system issues. Now the tribunal decided that the parties to stage 1 would be the Māori primary health organisations and providers, now they're Y1315, and the National Hauora Coalition, 2687. Because for a number of reasons, they were ready to go, they didn't need any research, and the claims that they brought on behalf of Māori were very significant, and something needed to be done urgently right now. So that's why the tribunal prioritised them into stage 1. Stage 2 is just as important, but they needed a bit more research done. So while they were getting their research done, the tribunal heard stage 1. Stage 2 is primarily mental health and suicide, which we can all agree is very, very serious. Māori with lived experience of disabilities, and alcohol and substance abuse, which will include smoking as well. Stage 3 will be the remaining themes of national significance. So stage 1, who are the parties? I said that it was the Māori primary health organisations and providers, the Hauora Coalition. On behalf of the Crown, we had the Ministry of Health involved, the district health boards as Crown agents, and Te Kokere, mostly because they're responsible, they've got a statutory power to monitor all Crown agents. So they were called in. Interested parties were also able to participate, in which Teresa participated as Y2647, to ensure that the institutional racism that exists in the cancer continuum was raised and had highlighted. The first thing that the tribunal did when they got together this report was look at the treaty principles that were applicable to these stage 1 issues. Of most importance is tino rangatiratanga, which is encapsulated in a number of these principles. But partnership particularly looked at, it's explained by the tribunal as Māori control, tino rangatiratanga, and empowering Māori to participate. Active protection. Now that is, as I said, it incorporates tino rangatiratanga, but there is a Crown obligation to close gaps if there is disparity. They have a positive obligation to do that, and it's heightened when there is disparity or inequities. Equity, Māori freedom from discrimination, and it is, we should positively promote equity. And options, well, Māori have the right to choose whether they want to be looked after by a Māori primary health organisation or a non-Māori. They have the right to choose whether they live their own way of life, how they choose to live socially, culturally. Those are our options, and that is protected under Te Tiriti Waitangi. The issues in stage 1. It was mostly focusing on compliance to the legislation and the policy that is currently forming the framework of the primary health system. So they looked at the Public Health and Disability Act 2000 to see whether that was treaty compliant. They looked at the funding that was received, they looked at accountability, and they looked at the partnership for Māori in the primary healthcare framework. They looked at whether all those were treaty compliant. Now the findings were damning. One of these findings alone would be in breach of Te Tiriti, but there are many. The first one with respect to the Public Health and Disability Act. Now when that first came out in 2000, there was so much optimism, there was so much positivity because it was a groundbreaking piece of legislation that included a treaty clause. Everyone was excited. It was not treaty compliant. It was not in breach of Te Tiriti at that time. That was aspirational, that was great, everyone was looking forward to it. But 20 years later, it hasn't lived up to what it was supposed to do. So today, it is not treaty compliant. It fails to consistently state the commitment to achieving equity. Now it needs to state this, it needs to be the focus, and it needs to constantly be visible and seen so that it continues to be a goal of all our healthcare providers. Section 4 of the Act does not go far enough in ensuring that the whole health sector complies with treaty principles. Participation and contribution after decisions have been made or after a plan has been put together is not good enough. Those provisions set out in Part 3 do not give full effect or proper effect to Te Tiriti principles. It's not acceptable by saying that we want to lower the level of inequity, that we want to lower disparity. That implies that there is an acceptable level of inequity in our system. There is not. There should be none. So letter of acceptance, planning guidelines, they vary too much and they're subject to political priorities, which the tribunal said is not good enough. The 3 Ps, we learned about this during hearings, that He Koro Waioranga articulated. They water down the treaty principles. They do. Partnership, participation and protection. It doesn't give a clear direction or elaboration on Crown responsibilities. What we want is tino rangatiratanga. We don't want to have plans brought to us and what do you think about this? We want to be making those decisions. And Māori have been promised that. And this is when the tribunal says that individually and whether taken together, they are on breach of Te Tiriti, good governance, equity, active protection, and partnership. Okay, Māori representation on district health boards in particular do not afford Māori treaty consistent control. Endeavouring to ensure that type of language, it's not good enough. The number of Māori needs to be proportionate to the population. That's what the legislation says. At least 2 Māori on boards. Only once over the time that it was there was that actually achieved. The ways in which district health boards have variously interpreted their obligations in section 22 and 23 with regards to control of decision making. The tribunal have labelled that as not treaty compliant. They are given advisory only, and more often than not, they're a minority or they're ignored completely. There is significant weakness there, and it doesn't coincide with the principle of tino rangatiratanga. The removal of specific treaty compliance language from lower level documents. Do you know what I'm talking about? Lower level documents. In 2006, I think it was, there was a direction that went out as a response to the Foreshore Seabed Hikoi, asking everyone to take out anything that refers to Te Tiriti or Waitangi and policy documents, planning documents, recommendations. That is in breach of Te Tiriti. With regards to funding, okay. Now, when the primary health organisations were first set up, there were a lot of independent practitioner associations that were able to easily transfer from what they were originally doing into PHOs. They had the infrastructure already set up, they had the experience, the know-how, and they had the capital. Māori PHOs didn't. They didn't receive any additional funding to take into account that they were starting from zero. That disadvantaged many Māori organisations, which in turn disadvantaged their clientele, the patients who are predominantly high need patients. So there was a huge treaty breach in that regard. Population-based funding does not work for Māori. From the very beginning in March 2000, the Crown was told that it wasn't going to work for Māori, and they went ahead with it anyway. All right, there are the funding arrangements in the primary healthcare system do not adequately provide for kaupapa Māori models. Now, we've heard from Professor Bolton during the hearings, very often he would get clients coming in to do a 1-minute tooth extraction, but it would take half an hour because that kaumātua will want to talk to them about who you are, what's your whakapapa, where are you from. That is kaupapa Māori, that's how we do it. Before you go into someone's mouth pulling out teeth, we want to know, where you're from, who's your whānau. That's not taken into account in some of the funding models. We're told, the dentists are told 5 minutes, get out. That's not how we work. So the tribunal acknowledged that that's not taken into account. The Deloitte's report of 2007 actually highlighted this, and they said that because of these issues, Māori PHOs are actually underfunded by $21 million a year. That's the amount that they came up with. Mostly because there are higher Māori presentations, longer consultations, there's complexity of needs, and there needs to be cultural appropriateness. The tribunal weren't very convinced by that number, but they said it's a roundabout figure. Okay, and so taken individually, those would be breaches to Te Tiriti, but because they are just compounded by different breaches, the tribunal have just said it needs to be worked on. It breaches partnership, options, active protection, and equity. Now the tribunal looked at accountability. So how is our primary healthcare system held to account? How are they monitored? Basically, they're not. And the tribunal couldn't understand that. They said with all these billions of dollars going into healthcare, especially Māori healthcare, everywhere, why isn't there something showing the New Zealand public what they're investing in and the outcomes they're getting from all that money that's being invested? There needs to be planning, measuring, and reporting. They set expectations. You all know when you want to pay off your home loan, you make a goal, you know whether you've achieved it at the end of the year. None of that was being monitored, no one was being held to account. Tribunal even went on to say that there needs to be clear visibility of data because it informs and it motivates. Of course, nobody likes to be looking at data that shows that they're not performing well, that makes us look bad, but it motivates us to do better, doesn't it? When you get a C in class, you work harder to get an A. We need to be clear on the action plans. And New Zealand, the Crown does not collect sufficient qualitative and quantitative data to fully inform itself. And the data that it does collect, it doesn't even use it effectively. And this last point, looking at Section 5 of the Ministry of Māori Development Act, that's when the tribunal got stuck into Te Puni Kokiri. It's their statutory duty to monitor Crown agents, including DHBs, the Ministry of Health, and they have amended they've amended the obligations by saying that they monitor the agents in the policy development stage. No, that's not okay. They need to monitor actual performance So you'll see in the recommendations how they've been told off. With regards to Māori partnership, I've spoken a little bit about these already, and the tribunal does reinforce what it said earlier when it spoke about the Health and Disability Act. How entities account for and implement Māori perspectives is important. So many times we heard about policies being watered down. There was a disestablishment of Te Kite Hauora and the failure at the time to replace it with something better. But it was the context of the time that the tribunal really took into account. Not only was it disestablished, but it was also the same time that treaty references were removed from lower level documents, the same time that organisations were told that they no longer have to do a Māori health plan, and Māori were not the focus. With all of those things taken into account, the tribunal just said that was a complete watering down of all treaty principles. Again, the tribunal spoke about co-design, meaning that we're part of the design. You don't bring us in once you've designed the system, the document, the framework, and ask us to comment on it. It places Māori in the margins, and it doesn't take into account our part in making sure that there is success in the health sector. The tribunal also acknowledged the contributions of kaupapa Māori organisations. They are Māori, they live in Te Ao Māori. That is where the Crown will find a lot of people that know the best way forward. We heard during hearings that DHBs would poach staff from Māori primary health organisations after significant investment has been put into their development, crippling those PHOs. The tribunal made findings on that and encouraged the Crown to, instead of stealing from those PHOs, to do their own, to work in consultation with PHOs perhaps. What was interesting and what I loved was that the Director General of the Ministry of Health acknowledged that there is institutional racism within the system, that racism is a health determinant. Those were some acknowledgements that went a long way. And can I just say the Crown during this inquiry were great at sharing the information, giving the data. They were upfront, they knew what their breaches were, they wanted help, and we appreciate that. And already the recommendations that have been set by the tribunal are being worked on, are in motion, yes. And the recommendations, if you want to read about those, this report is on the Waitangi Tribunal site. It is really exciting to me. The recommendations that have been put in place, they recommend amendments to legislation, changes in policy, a standalone Māori Health Authority, and we're looking forward to how this goes in the future. I've used up enough time, so I'll stop now and hand it over to Teresa. Kia ora, everyone.
Ngā koe, Eve, what a fantastic summary of the stage one of the inquiry and the report. I'm Bridget Robson. I'm no Ngāti Raukawa, the Associate Dean Māori, and it's my privilege to introduce Teresa Goza, or Mohuia. Tēnā koe, te whanaunga. So Mohuia has been an amazing contributor to the work that this school does on cancer, bringing a mātauranga Māori perspective, was really closely involved in the conference on Indigenous peoples and cancer held last year. She's developed an equity strategy for the Cancer Society, which is totally amazing. And she works with whānau in our communities and looks after us. So, nō reira, tēnā koe e te tuahine.
Neira, te mihi kia koutou katoa, ko moahui e tuku ingoa Māori, he uri ahau no Ngāti Matakore, Ngāti Haua, Ngāti Kauwhata, Ngāti Raukawa hoki. Ko Teresa tuku ingoa Pākehā. Kāre a riki ngā mihi kia koutou, and the ones online as well. Tēnā koutou. How do I? Eve had lots to say. There we go. So just a bit of a brief outline of what I'm going to kōrero about today. I'm going to give a brief overview about the claim, the objective and the purpose of the claim. Talk about the hanganga or the methodology on how this claim is going to be frameworked together. I will show the mortality and incidence rates that are really the take matua, or the one of the biggest issues for Māori around cancer. What drives these inequities? I will give an example, one example that is racist by design. And then question the structural silencing of rongoā across the cancer continuum, other areas of interest in the claim, and then a summary. So, ko te mea tuatahi, the objective is to map the sites of racism across the cancer continuum. The cancer continuum is rather large. It goes right from population health right through to palliative care. It's a large continuum, and there's a lot of people working in that continuum. The purpose really is to deconstruct power and privilege. So there are numerous structures across the cancer continuum that continuously perpetuate inequities because the power base sits in Te Ao Pākehā instead of Te Ao Māori. I would also like to position myself, I'm the tainer in this space, and ngā mihi ki ngā tuakana who have been fighting this for 20, 30 years, our Irupu Māori whānau, and everyone else who's been trying to deconstruct power and privilege for a long time, and I happen to have the privilege of coming at this end when lots of the work had already been done and the data around research and the evidence to show that racism already exists. So neira te mihi kia koutou katoa. So the methodology in order to look at what is driving inequities for cancer is from a mātauranga Māori base. And my whakapai, or my argument, I suppose my whakapai, my standing is that kei roto i ngā kite mātauranga he kura. That we return to our kite mātauranga to find other ways of unpacking, deconstructing, and finding rongoā for our whānau. It is not possible within Western scholarship to address Māori issues. For whānau in the room who either have journeyed the cancer journey or have had whānau, close whānau currently on the journey or have had whānau go through the journey, just like to kia matara. The next couple of slides will show the difference of incidence and mortality rates between non-Māori and Māori. They are stark and consistent, and ko tōku nei whakaaro ka taku mihi ki a koutou katoa, ki o koutou ngākau, ki o koutou wairua, ki o koutou Māori hoki. So this is the total cancer registration rate between Māori and non-Māori males aged 25 years and above. And you can see that Māori male have the Māori male line is above the non-Māori male line there. Non-Māori in this particular case is all ethnicities that aren't Māori. It's the sources from New Zealand Cancer Registry and Ministry of Health, thank you. So total cancer registration rate. So in Te Ao Māori, so cancer, there's over 200 cancers, and then when you put your genes in there, there's over thousands, but from a mātauranga Māori space, every person has a different whakapapa. So when we talk about cancer, the way that cancer grows, where it metastasizes, where it is, every single person has a different whakapapa, so therefore has a different journey. Total cancer registration rate for Māori females. And really the point that I wanted to strongly make is that, especially for the females, these are whare tangata. He tino tapu nui te whare tangata ki te ao Māori. So every person has a whakapapa, has a tinana, has a wairua, has a mauri, has a whānau. Sometimes colonisation has a really good way of dehumanising, and data can do that sometimes as well. Taking the whakapapa and the mauri and the mana and showing data like this. So just as a reminder, every data point is a person, a whānau, a wairua, hiniaro. Māori males, age standardised rate, total cancer mortality, and then Māori females as well, total cancer mortality. So there's numerous factors that drive the differences, that drive these inequities. Previous discourse that regularly circulated media spheres was that Māori smoke more and eat more, and therefore it's an individual lifestyle factor that a Māori person surrounds them, or participates in. That was previous discourse. Thankfully, we've moved on from that. What are other drivers of inequities and environments that are not conducive? That are conducive to unregulated growth, i.e. environments that are carcinogenic, environments that within the social determinant sphere are not conducive to tino rangatiratanga, keeping the mana or the mauri of whānau healthy and well. Differential access, there's a significant amount of research that shows Māori will have differential treatment pathways, slightly disadvantaged in the diagnosis and the treatment of cancer across these small but constant disadvantages. Thanks, Di and the team. And institutionalised racism. Institutionalised racism at the moment is politically palatable, so I'm going to really kind of work on that one, especially because I know the cancer team and the DG Health are going to watch this video afterwards, so kia ora. Institutionalised racism. So racism is a system that mediated through humans that privileges some over others, but institutionalised racism is quite hard to see, can be hidden really easily within structures, policies and processes. So that's what drives the inequities. I wanted to talk about our current health system and the way that it's set up. Our current health system is racist by design because if we look at the whakapapa of its origins, the whakapapa is racist by design and always was. The Tohunga Suppression Act specifically. Tohunga, I'm going to read this out. Practice on the superstition and credulity of the Māori people by pretending to possess supernatural powers in the treatment and cure of disease, the foretelling of future events and otherwise, and thereby induce the Māoris to neglect their proper occupations and gather into meetings, I think that means hui, where their substance is consumed and their minds are unsettled to the injury of themselves and to the evil example of the Māori people generally. That's the preamble of the Tohunga Suppression Act. One of the first statutes that was racist by design and continues to perpetuate this uncomfortable space of no, sickness is only in a body, located in a physical body. What that Tohunga Suppression Act really did was subjugate the other health domains that Māori have, i.e. mana, tapu, mauri, wairua and everything else that keeps us well. And it's really, as you know, I don't need to go through this, it's highly racist, but what's more of a concern is that there is a consistent and continuous structuring of caramelized words on paper. So every policy I've seen so far has te whare tapa whā, that wairua was important and so forth, but there's no structural implementation that helps hauora providers, rongo providers to actually keep our wairua well. Like if my wairua is out, I want to go to tohunga rongoa or someone who knows how to whakawātia me. That is currently unavailable. Ministry of Health data shows that they only directly fund rongoa practitioners, only 18 rongoa practitioners across the country. Racist by design. So if it's racist by design, then what would structural implementation of tino rangatiratanga look like? If I think about a pōwhiri, the mana whenua have total mana whenua have total mana of their wāhi, of their marae, they have total control. When they pōwhiri manuwhiri in, they're taking that manuwhiri from te pō into te ao marama. kia whakatanga te whenua mai rātou. And the manawhiri are expected to stick with the kawa of that marae. Whatever that marae says is their kawa, is their tikanga, pai tera. They come in humbly, they bring their resource, whatever they're coming with, and so forth, but the marae, the mana whenua, hold all mana in control. So thinking of that example within mātauranga Māori, what would structural implementation of tino rangatiratanga look like? This is the new second tier structure at the Ministry of Health that was put in place last year. I'll just leave it there for a second. There is nothing about that that feels Māori, looks karu, or hears or listens like tino rangatiratanga. And the reason, oh, is there a mouse? Oh, yay. So from my anti-racism space, you've got Māori Health, DDG Māori Health here, has the same value base as mental health and addiction strategy, system strategy and policy, corporate services, those are cleaning contracts. Population health prevention, health system improvement, disability and so forth. Māori Health, which encompasses every Māori in the country, their wairua, their hinengaro, their tinana, their mauri, their tapu, their whenua, their whānau, huge portfolio, is subjugated in apparently the same value base as all of the other infrastructure things. I call them things. And everyone else, whilst this is an executive leadership team, there's 25 in this team. There's just over 1,000 for the whole lot. There's only 25 in this team. If Māori health and the consistent inequities across nearly all Māori-witanga, if the Crown was really totally committed to reducing inequities, they would start with their own structures. So everyone is responsible to DG Health, and I'd like to say I really like Ashley personally, and I have a lot of respect for this particular person. But the structure does not look like tino rangatiratanga in any way or form. So in this box here, Office of the Clinical Cluster, we've got Chief Medical Officer, Chief Nursing Officer, Chief Allied Health Professional Officer. Where is Kāhui Rongoa? Who in there is looking after wairua, tapu, mana? Some people might argue with that actually in allied professions, that's where it belongs. Well, that's incorrect. The Māori have to figure out another structure, because this is not what a tino rangatiratanga structure looks like. It's not for me to say what it should look like. However, if it was me, I'd move. I'd move this one above here so that the minister and everyone was responsible to this one and the 25 people and the team above here, so that every single portfolio, even though they need to do their jobs and carry on with their current BAU in some way or form, is responsible to mana motuhake Māori. And then if we moved this box here with the 25 team up here, then we'd have next to them, like we did in the old days, because we always had our ariki or our rangatira and the rangatira whānau, but we had tohunga next to it to make sure that they were looked after, our wairua, our mauri and so forth. So if it was me, not just saying, this is just me, if these guys were above here and they had to their side a kāhui rongoa that looked after them, and then on top of that, you would have some kind of pēniwi, some kind of kāhui that actually was responsible and in no way vulnerable to political terms or non-Māori ideology by Western health ideology. Another kāhui up here, where these guys were responsible to them too. So everyone, the minister down, is responsible to Māori. That's tino rangatiratanga. Anything apart from that shouldn't be in Aotearoa. That's my rant of the my biggest rant. So having another look at this structure in Māori pre-colonisation, we already had our structures that were set up and worked really well in regards to public health. We had tapu, we had rahui, we had noa, we had tohunga, and we had people understanding what their roles were. Everyone was accepted in a kaitiaki role of some sort, whether you're a kaitiaki of your awa, kaitiaki of the children, kaitiaki of your oral health, kaitiaki of cleaning services, kaitiaki whatever. There's a role for everyone, but essentially tino rangatiratanga means that this structure would be deconstructed. Every word has mana, tapu, and Māori. In te ao Māori, a karere tō reo, you clothe your words in mana and tapu. Every word, kupu Māori has mana, has tapu, has Māori. You can feel it. The best whakatauki to encapsulate that is he ati te kōrero, he ati te kupu, he nui te kōrero. You should only have to say certain things, and underneath that is a whole avalanche of understanding. So if every word has mana, tapu, and Māori, then addressing structural barriers in the ministry, such as institutionalised racism, bias, and decision-making powers, would be something that they would do. Monitoring and being responsive to Māori across the ministry is something they would do, including key performance indicators for all staff on responsiveness to Māori. I would slightly change that. And working collaboratively with government agencies to achieve pai ora. So those are all great, except those are the words that support, apparently, what this structure is about to do. Especially the bit, addressing structural barriers in the ministry, such as institutionalised racism, bias, and decision-making powers. Why is Māori health, Māori bodies, Māori minds, Māori wairu and tinana suddenly below or beneath a DG of health? That makes no sense in te ao Māori, zero. And from a Māori perspective, it is not okay to put Māori whānau, Māori health and so forth right next to Māwiwitanga. The Māori of that is off. Mō kuake. So these are the words that are in the document that supported this new structure. This new structure was put in place in 3 months. It would be relatively easy to change the structure again in 3 months. If they can do it in 3 months to get this, which to be perfectly honest was far better than the one before, let's be honest. The other one before was like beyond racist. If there's a word beyond racist, it was that. So it's far better, but if you can do it in 3 months, you can do it again. So kia koe Ashley, you have the mana to change that and put Māori health in its rightful place as manu matuhaki. Am I running out of time? Okay, cool. All right, so rongoa Māori. So there is a misunderstanding that rongoa Māori are creams and drinks. That is incorrect. It is a knowledge and body of life. It's a body of knowledge and a body of understanding life. Okay? So rongoa Māori, if we took that previous structure where it has a clinical cluster, we can all pretty much figure out how much those people get paid, just that particular cluster. The ministry funds those 3 new positions. They get to contribute to the new cancer control strategy. Te Kahui Rongoa is a nationwide kahui of rongoa practitioners, set up to advocate, set up to look at how to implement rongoa into the structural architecture of New Zealand's health system. Since 2016, it's had total funding support from the ministry of $0. Is it the central team that's writing the new cancer control strategy? I doubt it. They apparently haven't heard. The Waitangi Tribunal last report said that rongoa is a necessity to correct Treaty of Waitangi breaches. And this kahui rongoa, or anyone really who understands how to keep wairua, hinengara, tapu and mana well, have an epistemological advantage, thanks to my cousin who gave me those words. But I do believe that if you're Māori, you have an epistemological advantage because you know both worlds. And on top of that, you know all your te ao māramas of every marae you're on. So yeah. So to the cancer team and to the Ashley who is going to be watching this video later, you can contact this kahui and quickly rectify them because they've got $0 and zero support from you. And their contact details is on your website. The other areas of interest in the claim is looking at the overall structure and privileging of cancer-specific teams. If it's based on mātauranga or has a korowai of aroha from those who understand mātauranga, it'll be fine. If not, you're going to be in trouble. Tikanga holders, this is kind of talking about the accountability frameworks. On every marae, there's an auntie in charge of a kitchen, auntie in charge of the pot, auntie in charge of the kitchen, there's an auntie in charge of the kaikarangas, we always have tikanga holders or accountability frameworks in everything we ever did. So the accountability frameworks needed in the current health strategy, including the cancer-specific space, is needed. The bowel cancer screening program, which has numerous debates around whether it's equity negative or equity positive. The Cancer Nurse Coordinator program, looking at that, the disinvestment in the Smoke-Free 2025 goal, data sovereignty, and research privileging. Māori Affairs Select Committee inquiry, I know I've got to hurry up because I'm talking too much, but please everyone put in a submission in. Put a submission in. The more people that can submit into the inquiry means that we're going to get these recommendations through. We're all thinking the same thing, we're all wanting the same thing, so let's put through the inquiry because we don't stand as a team, we don't stand until like 2021 for this Y claim. So it would be fabulous when we go to stand and we've got a one-page Y claim because actually all the stuff's been done. That would be fantastic. Acknowledgements to everyone who feeds me, looks after me and the team. Iru Pōmari Centre, Tōhunga Rongo, Hauhuru Mōwai, Heather Kame, Jackie Kidster, C3 team, Di and her team, Te Raukawa, who have awesome at telling me what mātauranga is or isn't. Korowai Tautoko and Cancer Society, my team at Cancer Society, who are my colleagues and friends. So in summary, what you should have heard from this presentation is that the claim is about mapping the sites of racism in order to deconstruct power and privilege, that there's stark and consistent inequities, incidence, mortality, and awairua and impact on Māori, and it is a tuki ki te mana. That institutionalised racism exists across the cancer continuum. I've provided you with one example where if I tested that structure against tikanga Māori, whakapapa, mana, mauri, tapu, that structure would fail because none of those tikanga are in place. For example, sorry, I forgot to say, for example, the whakapapa of that structure is not Māori, so therefore it would fail on that. The mauri of that structure doesn't feel right, so then it would fail on that tikanga. How does that structure whakamana Māori? It doesn't, so it would fail on that. So if we tested mātauranga Māori against these structures and they fail, they should be rectified or changed or thrown out. So most of the claim will be testing structure, systems and policies against mātauranga and tikanga Māori. The whāinga matua, the main purpose is to reposition Māori as kaitiaki of all human activity in Aotearoa. That was our original position, that continues to be our position. So that is the overall purpose of the claim. For whānau in the room, just to let you know, there are po tautoko, a couple of my rongoa friends who have come in and have been bouncing aroha off the walls for us. But if any of the if you have any questions specifically about racism, about the taumahatanga of this racism, please come and see us after this. Anyone who has any questions about epi and all that kind of stuff, team over here. Di, Bridget, this team here. But also, this is not my particular claim, this is our claim. If you would like to add anything into it, and it is mātauranga Māori based and tikanga, and it's tika no mai haere mai, I will pay you $0. We will pay you $0, it's mahi aroha. But the claim is for anyone and everyone. So if you have something specific that you'd like to add in, including our non-Māori whānau who are allies in this work, and you know, if you want to add something into it or want me to write something, please come and see us after the break. Totally available for anyone. Yeah, and if you have any more questions, please come and see us. And I think I'm running out of time and just finished. Nā re te mihi kia koutou, kia koutou ngākau, kia koutou mana tapu, kia koutou whānau hoki. Tēnā koutou.
Kia ora whānau. Oh my gosh, isn't it amazing what mātauranga Māori brings to our understanding of our health system and what the potential is. So tēnā koe, tēnā kōrua. We've run out of time, so you're welcome to leave, and we can give you a few minutes, seconds to do that. But if anyone would like to stay and join in with the discussion, you're also welcome to do that. So I'm going to give you permission to leave now. And those who wish to stay, we'll stay for another 10 minutes. Yeah, 5 to 10 minutes. Kia ora dai.
Kia ora koroa. Thank you so much for those extraordinary presentations. Amazing, as always. I'm really curious, Mohuia, what your view is on a standalone Māori health agency versus the kind of structure that you were talking about within the ministry. Any thoughts on that?
Both.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm guessing it's going to be an and situation. Yeah.
Both. Because essentially, if you just did a standalone Māori agency and you don't deconstruct this one, you're going to tiki. And it's going to be, oh, how many Māoris are there? We'll give that much, money and so forth. And it has to be both, because there's also space in order to decolonise and really, truly embed tino rangatiratanga into the architecture. There has to be space for rongoa and other spaces to be under a Māori-only health and funding authority, because there's room to move, really. So it has to be both. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Mahi whakahirehira. Ko tāku nei whakaaro, kua temata tētahi o ngā standalone Māori Health Authority, kei roto I te kaupapa o te Māori Health Development Commissions. I'm a claimant too in the space of suicide prevention. And the failure of the Crown to act to prevent Māori suicide and in actual fact to contribute to it in the same way that your analysis questions the integrity of the government with regard to racism that's been allowed to continue and continue and continue. We've been there, we've done that, we've tried that. So how do we do this in a way that it's actually mana-filled, Māori-filled, because it's too easy for the Crown. I mean, look at Ihu Mātau. There are still things happening every day in our lives that are breaches of the treaty, that are, that our whānau are left to deal with, lack of housing, all the rest of it. So I went to the Waitangi Tribunal and I've lodged a claim, but I don't know if that's the only way to deal with this.
It's not the only way, it's a tool that we use, that's correct. One of the many tools that we've used. And I think of my tupuna, they probably thought the same thing when they started the fight against the Crown, and it's still going. We just got to keep going. We need to. For our mokopuna, that's right. Yeah, there's no other way. We keep fighting. We use every tool we've got. We infiltrate the Crown with our people. We've got so many Māori lawyers, Māori judges, Māori doctors. We're coming up everywhere. We need to raise more Māori in those senior positions. We need to infiltrate and take over.
didn't do a proper census, didn't fund it. They sabotaged us, just my view, political view, because they didn't want us to see. They had a lot to hide, like high immigration, for example, which impacts on Māori and other poor people, Pacific people, and our poor Pākehā whānau that live there. So where do you stand on that? Because to me that's really important. It's about data sovereignty, but how can you adhere or uphold the treaty when you didn't collect census data on Māori people and others that are high-risk population? From Mass University Centre for Public Health Research.
Kia ora.
Census to me was a
There we go,
huge
Bridget.
breach of the treaty.
I totally agree with you. I'm Bridget. I work with statistics, and we in the Iripo Māori Centre we've always, wanted really good. We know we need. It's fundamental to have good population data. Then we can't tell. Otherwise, we can't tell how we're doing. What resources do we need for our population? So yes, I know Mātauranga have done a fantastic critique of the census, and we know only 68% of Māori were counted. It's a big problem, and it is a treaty breach in itself.
Databases, and we own those databases. We only let people access them when we want to. When we get what's best for our people, because the data that's been collected, it's not good, and we all know that it's been compromised.
Kia ora. Ai, tika tēnā. And we might want to consider it a mātauranga Māori view on what data is. Any further? We've got a few more minutes. Any further? Chris?
Kia ora, Chris Pihima, my Mary Pot Hospice. I just want to say I absolutely support what you're saying in terms of needing more Māori in the space to do things, but I think we also need to acknowledge the non-Māori people that are there to tautoko us and support us, because if we don't have them either, it would be an even worse situation. So kia ora, Kiri, and even Diana and a whole lot of other people that are supporting this kaupapa, that I do want to acknowledge that we need everyone else that's non-Māori, but in understanding our mātauranga. Kia ora.
I just wanted to make a comment. I'm a non-Māori and I'm a senior nurse within this hospital here. I just found, I find that when you talked about infiltration, it's a very difficult word, and I find it's quite a sad thing to hear that it's a term that you feel needs to be utilised in this. This has been an extremely enlightening presentation, and it kind of immediately sets up that sort of conflict. And you talked about tuki. My language is So I find it quite sad that that's the position that we're actually in, because that's not necessarily where we should be within all of this. So just wanted to acknowledge that's.
Probably didn't use the right word. Sorry if that.
I'm not meaning it as a criticism in any way. I'm just meaning it's quite sad to hear that that's the word that you feel describes adequately what you feel the need is, what you feel you need to do in order to be heard, to be, to be at the table, to be able to sort of, potentially make these kinds of changes.
I do know we received data during the tribunal hearings about the actual rates of employment of Māori, and actually the amount of senior position, Māori in senior positions. And that's also a problem, because if we want to be part of the discussion, if we want to help set up and design these frameworks, we need to have people that actually can understand it, Māori that can do that. And that's what I was meaning. Get our people.
I didn't mean it as criticism. I'm just commenting on the fact that you felt that that's the word that you needed to use.
I think I've been playing a bit too much Fortnite, maybe.
Kia ora whānau, we're going to wrap up now. I actually was thinking about Mohuia's kōrero about the kahui that's looking after the rōpū in the ministry. We heard on Wednesday workshop on the Māori Health Action Plan that people working in government do feel unsafe, stressed, it's difficult. And so, Kiri, I think we do need to be having supports for this ongoing mahi that does seem like a really burdensome kind of task, so that our Māori is supported as well. So kia ora matina whakaaro, Teresa. And thank you both for fantastic, stimulating, really informative discussion. Loved all of it. Kia ora kōrua. Kia ora whānau.